The Vintage Roast with Dan Adu and Jessica Montez.
Welcome, everybody, to the Vintage Roast. We have a wonderful episode today. Jessica, hello.
Hello, how are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited about today's episode. One of my favorites, the Frugal Gourmet. Huge fan of the Frug. Jeff Smith. You know, he's got a troubled past. We all do. He was a non-convicted child molester.
Accused?
He was accused. He settled out of court. So I think we can still enjoy watching his food videos. But today's episode, what is today's episode?
We're doing apples today.
All apples. A whole episode on apples.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see what you got. I mean, he's a man of the people. It seems like those first few clips he was in like Colonial Williamsburg or something. Weird B-roll for your cooking show. Take it in, Jeff. Take in Cabernet. Here we go.
How are you? And welcome again to more American cooking. And this day, it is the apple. All right, so the apple isn't strictly American. You were nice to notice. Actually,
literally no one
the
noticed.
Apple isn't American. It came to us from other lands, but the
Not
phrase,
one person noticed.
as American as
He
apple
paused.
is certainly an American mark. How did that come about? Let's see how I do. Hang on to your history. Apples go back thousands of years, and we know that they were common in Asia Minor and in Eastern Europe. They came into Europe and eventually came to America. Are you ready for this one? They came to America because of the Roman conquest. The Roman soldiers would take seeds with them when they were on conquest and plant them all over Europe. And eventually, by the time of Christopher Columbus, apples were the largest and most important cultivated crop, not the most important crop, the most important cultivated crop in Europe.
So he stole those too and brought them over to America? Is that what he's saying? That's how it's now an American fruit?
I made them American.
As if Christopher Columbus wasn't bad enough, he brought us apples.
So I have all kinds of apples and wonderful things to show you. But first of all, I've got to warn you that some legends are really based more on truth than on fallacy. There was such a character as Johnny Appleseed. In the early 1800s, well, as a matter of fact, the year 1800, who was a preacher on behalf of the Swedenborg Church, loving people who want to see a loving world community, set out from Western Pennsylvania.
I think he used to be a preacher, so he's got like this weird Christian knowledge.
He did, this is the truth, he did wear a pot for his cap, a saucepan, and he set out across America, and he got as far as Western Indiana before he died in 1871. He planted seeds in 10,000
Why are we having to hear this story?
I mean, here's the thing. He's not even looking at his
so when you
nose.
serve something to your children,
He just knows.
He knows that one.
Why does he just know
a
this
little
stuff?
apple pie, perhaps, and then give a bit of thanks for Johnny Appleseed. He did exist. All right.
Thank
apples.
you, Johnny.
Oh, my God.
The best apples in the world, without question, no argument, are from Washington State. I promise you that that's the case. I'm telling you this because
shots fired.
I have a big...
That's where he's from, by the way.
Oh,
Might
that's
be a
where
little
he's from.
biased.
And they were marked Washington
Okay.
apples, and of course I can tell because I live there. This is the Red Delicious. That's our apple. This next one is a beautiful green one called Granny Smith, and this is my favorite cooking apple. Wonderful. Now, there are all kinds of other apples. I should show you a whole bunch of these. These are gorgeous.
It's amazing.
Things.
This was
Here's
before you had like
delicious.
the fast forward.
Although
You can't go 15 seconds fast. You have to literally just
and this one is a
sit through this
California
whole
golden
dumb
delicious.
history lesson.
Looks like a delicious, but he's not quite. This is a golden again. This little bitty one is called a Jonathan. These are wonderful eating apples. They make very good pie. And then on this side is the famous Macintosh. You see, it's much rounder than the delicious
Is this how many different apple dishes he plans on cooking?
You don't want to cook with apples because you don't want to peel them?
I don't know.
Fuss. Let me show you something. I have a gadget. I've always got a gadget for you.
By the way, this
is
is
a wonderful
before.
device.
I feel
this
like
is an apple peeler corer. And it has
we've
a little crank.
updated
I'll
a
hook it
lot
up
of
for
our
you.
apple
You know who
game.
invented this? This
There's
was
the
invented
what's
by
that
the
like hot
Shakers,
apple that everyone
which
wants?
were,
It's like a really
the
crispy
Shaking
one.
Quakers. And we'll talk about them at another time.
It's
but
got
they
like
were
a sexy
wonderfully,
girl name.
Ingenious peoples and very much
I don't know.
committed to good
Hold
cooking.
on.
And one of the things they did was
gotta
to
find
invent not
this.
only the clothespin, Yes, the shakers did that. But this apple machine, let me show how it works. What you do is to put an apple on the machine. See? Just poke it in the old, there we are, and turn the crank. Now watch here's the blade, and this is the cutter, and this is the piece that's going to slice. Well, never mind, you'll see. This is just one of those things that you see gadgets, and they actually work, and you're so shocked that it works that it's a little bit terrifying.
That's pretty cool, but it is.
Pull off. Watch this now. You simply pull off the apple.
Also terrifying.
All ready to go.
That's pretty cool.
And this I can simply run a couple cuts to it. And we
is
have
that an old apple?
This is a great thing. It's called apple peeler core. The guy who makes these is in Seattle, Washington, if you can believe this. It's called the Norpro people. You can find
all things Washington
on the market,
this guy.
but most of them don't work this well. All right, let me get rid of this because I've already peeled my apples. And we're going to begin today with several dishes that I think you're really going to enjoy. First of all, in the old days in the colonies, it was very common to cook apples and cabbage.
Pink Lady.
Now, I know
that's the apple I was thinking of. That was the hot chick apple I was thinking of.
And of course, so would the apples. So in the middle of the winter, for a marvelous special vegetable dish, you made apples and cabbage. This one is a snap. Let me show it to you.
Sounds disgusting.
I have in my pan.
Yeah, that sounds very gross.
Just beginning to warm up again, a bit of bacon.
Where was this?
And the bacon needs to be
apples and cabbage and bacon.
And then we're going to throw in some onions. We're just going to saute some onions in the bacon fat. There's about 3 slices of nice thick bacon. What have I done with all my onions here? Wrong pot. Let's see. I've got a pot of onions here somewhere. Well, I'll have to cut some onions. Where are the onions, gang? Here we are. They're right in front of me. No wonder.
Literally right there. I saw them the whole.
High girl from Chicago wrote me a letter, said, "I love your show because you always lose things." That's the story of my life. I'm sorry, but we're in the same boat.
Ooh,
okay.
junior high school girl. He said he was dropping hints all along.
3 nice thick slices, not that thin stuff. You want to throw in 1 yellow onion, all chopped up.
That looks like a white onion. I'm calling bullshit,
Bring that up to,
Jeff. That's a fucking white onion.
And then you want to add about 3 Granny Smith apples using that wild gadget. I just love it. There we go. These are soaked in salt. Did you know that salt water will keep your apples from turning brown? Just a little bit of salt water to a quart of water, put about a tablespoon of salt, and then soak the apples in that very liquid, and they will not turn brown on you. That's the truth.
I mean, it's kind of a fun fact, but also so much effort for
now. You see, I've already peeled
for
so
apple
what's going to happen. Look at this.
Especially when you're going to cook it right away, right?
Yeah, you're going to cook it. Who cares?
So
you're cooking it in bacon. Like, it's going to be very brown.
Cook with apple because it's too much work. It's not work. It's not work. If you have a good kitchen, you can just cook with anything. All right, 3 Granny Smith apples into the pot with the bacon.
With the brown bacon.
Of course, the
white onions.
White onions. And apples and cabbage. That's really what we have here. A little salt and pepper. And this is a very common dish in the early days on the frontier, or it was very common in colonial times. I happen to know that.
Yeah, on the frontier, before we could set up cities and not have to eat apples and cabbage anymore.
Now, the cabbage goes in next.
Why would we want to recreate this?
This is frontier
cooking. And I have a
cooking.
whole pot full of cabbage here for you. 2 nice heads.
The whole point of the frontier was to finally not have a frontier and deal with this type of living.
I'm going to get all of this into the kettle. I don't know if I can make it or not. There we are. 2 or 3 nice heads, depending how big the cabbage is. I have about a 5-quart kettle here.
Kettle?
So we're going to fill that up.
It's a pot. I love it. It's suddenly a kettle because he's cooking frontier food.
Now,
well, I'm going to put my cabbage in the kettle.
And the seasonings, of course.
You got that tip from TJ Maxx, Jeff.
I'm using my big.
You really crammed that cabbage in there. I mean,
I love this thing. All right, that's quite a bit of pepper.
I love it as an old-timey pepper mill too.
Right.
And then we want to add the
pepper for all that cabbage.
Nice pinch of salt.
Yeah, that was like
the flavoring
that was an eighth of a teaspoon of pepper for 30 pounds of cabbage.
Please, about a half teaspoon. There we go. Whole caraway. Don't use that ground up stuff. I don't even buy ground caraway, but some people try and buy anything ground, and I don't like it. And some white wine, very dry.
He loves the white wine.
Oh, about half a cup.
The fruit loves the white wine.
Just to moisten this, you see? Put the lid on that. You're going to stir it up, of course, now and then.
It's like this much left.
Put the lid on that and let it cook down.
Yeah.
And when you finish, let me change pots here. I'll show it to you.
Oh, here comes the switch. The switcheroo. See, this is what I love about these shows, though. This is before
for 25, 30 minutes. I don't
all
think
of the
it'll take me
PBS
longer
shows
than
had
that.
no commercial cuts, so they did the old.
Apples and
All
cabbage.
right,
Yes, we're
that's
talking
there.
colonial.
Now this is what it's going to look like.
Right.
No cutting.
Wonderful food. You see how the cabbage is cooked down? This
How
is
long
a
did that
great
take?
dish. I know that in the old days, this was not just a vegetable dish. By old days, I mean during the latter 1600s and the early 1700s. This was not just a vegetable dish, but this was a main meal. You'd have a little bit of bacon
I think
or
I
salt
might.
pork.
I think I might eat my words
And
here.
this was the
That
meal
actually
for the
does
night.
look kind of
Can you
good.
imagine keeping your
I
kids
don't
happy on
know.
this?
I don't.
really
That
will
does
hope
not
you'll
look good
try.
to me.
I could
It's
see
very
like
delicious.
having like
All
a
right,
stout,
first of all,
like a beer, and having
beautiful
that
cabbage with apples to make it sweet
On
and
a
delicious.
Reuben?
With a bit of bacon,
Maybe.
white
on a
wine, salt
Reuben.
and pepper, and caraway. That's what gives it that special, delicious flavor. All right, next one. I've got to get my Chinese wok going, and you're going to say, well, that isn't colonial. No, it's not that it's colonial or not colonial. It's that this is the most clever version of the frying pan that we've ever found. The Chinese invented this. So I'm going to heat up my frying pan.
He's getting into some
in the
dicey
meantime,
cultural territory.
I'm going to
First of all, he called it a
marinate some
Chinese
pork.
wok.
I have
What
a
other
couple pounds
cultures
of
have
pork
woks?
Steak.
Isn't
That
every
is to
wok
say,
a Chinese
this
wok?
sort of thing. And I've deboned it. You see, there's a bone right here. See? Take the bone out of this, and then just cut it up into strips. What is that? Oh, I'm trying to give you the answers. Quarter of an inch? No.
What is that,
How about,
chicken?
How about eighth of an inch? Is that about right? An eighth of an inch in circumference. So for that, we want a couple of tablespoons of light soy.
Eighth of an inch in
Now, by
circumference?
light soy, I mean
It's not
soy
circumference.
sauce.
Circumference
Look
is
at
a
this.
circle.
It's not muddy.
It's an eighth of an
See, it's not muddy
inch
at all.
in
Couple
thickness.
tablespoons. There
Not
we go.
circumference.
And
He's
I want to
just
add
trying to
some
sound
dry
smart. I'm telling you,
sherry.
he's pulling
Now,
all
when
this
I
shit out
say
of his ass.
sherry, you remember now, we've cooked together long enough. I don't mean sherry that has salt in it. That's cooking sherry. Blech. Sherry that you can cook with. Dry cocktail sherry is what the Chinese use. And then, of course, a bit of... Why am I cooking Chinese food? Well, because I'm trying to tell you that the apple's very versatile. And I'm going to adapt a Chinese dish.
Is that an
There we go.
apple?
I want about
Or
a fourth
ginger?
teaspoon of
That's
fresh
ginger.
ginger. Here's the hand of ginger or finger, you see. And a little bit of this little bitty ginger grater. Looks like a kind of a scrub board for a tiny person.
Oh, wow, he
but
leaves
it's
the
not.
skin on, the
There
ginger.
we are. Marinate the
I feel like you
pork
should take the skin off of the
in
ginger.
the
Oh, it's
Chinese
pork.
triune, light soy, sherry, and a bit of ginger. Now we're going to start that cooking. There we go. Marinate that.
Don't
to,
take
oh,
off the
let's say-
wedding ring.
Let's say 15 minutes, huh?
all
I'm not
right.
going to bother with that now, but give it about 15 minutes. Is the pan hot? Yes. Now notice again, I'm telling you again, for heaven's sakes, hot pan or hot wok, cold oil, foods won't stick. So into that pan, I'm going to put some, the pan's very hot now. You see it's
Oh
smoking.
my God.
That's what we want.
Can I tell you something?
Little bit
I
of peanut oil,
remember
couple of
this
tablespoons,
now from like
and
when
I'll
I was
begin
in
cooking
middle school.
The pork.
That he would
Really?
always say that. Hot
This is
pan,
pork.
cold oil, no sticking.
Pork and apples, I'm sorry.
That's like
no
one of his
cabbage, we've done
things.
that.
Oh, that just brought back some
That's
fun,
about,
warm,
about
fuzzy
a pound and a
memories.
half would be plenty, I think. Let that cook for a bit. There we are. I always have so many things I want to do for you at once that I get very frustrated when I realize we're not going to have enough time to do all of these things, but that's all right.
You got it, Frug.
All right.
You got it,
the pork is
Jeff.
cooking away.
He only has 8 different
The apples
apple
will be
dishes to
added
make.
later very easily. This is just a stupendous dish because the apples have natural sugar, of course, and it'll add a wonderful flavor to this.
Did he add
So,
apples?
I now want to add
Not yet.
about,
Oh, okay.
4 cloves of garlic,
Got to bring out that little
something
apple
like that. And
torture
rather than crush them
contraption.
this time, I'm going to just
The
slice
mill.
them in into the old pan for apples and pork. No, it's not Chinese. The Chinese don't do much with apples anymore. Isn't that odd?
Yeah, because
And
you
yet we got
shouldn't
them
put
from the Chinese
apples
originally.
in Chinese food.
strange.
Or
The Chinese
I
do
honestly
enjoy, however,
cooked apples
wonderful
in a
American food products
savory
in the way of corn,
anything. I'm not
yams,
that into.
and
I've had
peanuts.
apple
Those all came
chicken.
from
That
the
was pretty
Americans.
good.
All right, 4
Really?
cloves of garlic
Yeah.
into our
disgusting.
1.5 pounds
I
of
hate it.
It was
pork
pretty
steak,
good.
trimmed
But
and sliced.
with rice.
Get
It was
rid of
like
the fat
apple
if you
chicken
can.
rice.
And
But
chow
why
that
is he
after
making
you've
this
marinated
dish
it
if
in
it's not
soy,
even a...
ginger and sherry.
I don't know.
Look
He's
how
just
quickly
like
that's
now. He's
cooking,
just like
you see?
he's freestyling,
No, you don't have to overcook
throwing
pork.
apples in anything.
Oh, when I was
He's
a
gonna make
kid,
apple
you had to
tacos after
cremate
this.
pork. For heaven's sakes, don't do that. Now I want a whole yellow onion that I've already sliced up. So I'm just
White
gonna
onion, you
throw this in my
freaking
kitchen
liar.
today, then I'm not going to slice an onion for you and give you the
That
old
is the
onion.
whitest onion ever
Fig with
seen.
Ben onion. Give me a break. I want you to cook with apples. All right, the onions go in the pot. Chow this for a bit. And then finally, we're going to add our apples. There.
So it's apples,
Let that
onions,
cook for
and
a
then
time while I prepare
some other
the apples.
ingredient.
Remember now, the apples, as I've told you, have
Cabbage,
already been cranked out on that wonderful machine, so it's not going to take much to peel them, slice them up, I should say. I want about 3 here. I get such a bang out of that device.
I love that he's
Yeah,
just
you
making
really-
this
this
up.
There we are.
This is all just one
3
big
apples.
ad
Now, these
for
again
that Apple
are grannies, or you can
contraption.
use Yellow Delicious.
I
As a
think
matter
like
of fact, for
his
variation,
cousin must
let's
have
use the
started the
Yellow Delicious.
company.
I have some here
He
somewhere.
put
Let's use
some.
those, huh?
Jeff put some of
Here
his
they are.
money in it, and he's trying to sell that
Remember, the Yellow
machine.
Delicious looks just like the Red Delicious, of course, except that it is yellow. And I think that's the only place where
Truth
the
bomb.
family bloodline holds true. I think it's really a completely different creature. Watch
Bloodlines.
somebody in
Are we
Washington
talking
State
about
send me a letter and tell me
what
I'm
kind
a
of
nasty
Aryan
man for not knowing more
bloodline
about my own
apple
state.
shit is
Washington
going
State
on?
produces
This apple is the
50%
purest
of
bloodline
all
of apple.
what we call eating apples, the table apples in America.
Are those the ones Columbus
I didn't
brought
know that
over?
until I started doing
Yeah.
research for this show. I had no idea. I'm just going to cut them in half now. And of course, that means that I now have wonderful thin slices, you see.
Oh, he loves
And
that
into the
machine.
pot they
This
go
is
with
a
the
this
corn.
is a sleeper infomercial
Toss the pork again.
for that Apple machine.
There we are.
Well, it should
You're
have
gonna have
been.
to cook your pork a little bit longer than I am today because this
If
isn't
he was
quite,
thinking smart,
quite
he
done.
could have been
I
a
think I'll just put a
sponsor.
lid on it after we get the
Ironically,
apples in
that
there. We'll cook it a bit.
contraption is definitely out of
faster.
business because now it's
There
being
we
made
go.
in China. This was all prophecy while he was making this Chinese
There we
dish.
are. All right. Apple and pork. I don't
No,
have to add much more to that. If
Oh
you'd
my
like a little
God,
pepper, that
that's
would be
awful.
fine. We can try a little
so
pepper.
bad.
But the other thing that I want you to
Those
think
apples
about
got, I mean, could
is
they
the
be
Chinese
bigger? Like, what is he
ingredient,
doing?
Sesame oil. Put in, half a tablespoon of sesame oil.
Some
You can
rice
find that in
vinegar
any
next?
Oriental market. Don't buy it in a health food store because that has not been toasted. And I don't want you to use that. And finally, some green onions. 2 or 3 chopped up. Isn't this great? Fried apples for dinner. Have you thought about this? And a little
No,
bit of pepper.
no
I'm gonna
one's
put about
thought
a fourth
about this.
teaspoon
For
of
good reason.
Freshly cracked black pepper. Don't use that other stuff, for heaven's sakes. We're cooking American because the apple has been with us from the very beginning.
You are making
With the
Chinese
exception,
food.
of course, of the Native Americans.
You just said we're cooking
Tom was a little
American,
bit later.
and you're making Chinese
And
food.
they were brought by the Europeans.
And by the way, he
Very
keeps
first
reminding
day.
us that the apple isn't even
Okay, let me put
American.
the lid on that. Just let that cook a bit, and we'll dish it
don't-
up later. All right?
What is he talking about?
There.
I don't know.
Silence is
know.
wonderful. What's next? I've got so many things I want to show you today.
Oh, look at the papers.
Check this one. I have a pot. And in this pot, I have placed 1 beef brisket.
Ooh.
We didn't brown him or anything. I simply trimmed him of fat, put him in a kettle,
Oh,
and what I'm going to do now is to take him out of here. Let me tell you what I've done with him.
I gotta say, I did not see this coming.
I've cooked the beef brisket
I did not see.
along with 1
Here's
large
a-
yellow onion,
It's white
couple
onion.
cloves of garlic. You see, he's sitting. He's nicely done. A couple cloves of garlic, and about 10 whole cloves. I mean the spice clove. You know, that fork's not going to work. I'm going to have to use a pot fork. You know the difference between the two? This is a pot fork because it can take a big chunk of meat in a pot. This is a wooden fork that you normally use for stirring your pot. I prefer this normally, but on occasion when you have a big chunk of meat, a wooden fork's not going to do.
It's a long waste
Metal
of
fork
time.
will always
Long waste of
damage your
time to
pan.
say
So be
I need
careful
the
with
metal fork instead.
All right. Now this is
Like
going
you
to
didn't
go,
have to explain
there
that,
we are.
does, Brug.
Going to go in a baking dish. We'll just leave everything else behind unless there's a big chunk of meat in there. Nope, we're fine. Come on, frugal means you check the pot twice, right?
wait, how long does
Absolutely.
this take to cook?
He doesn't say. He just
I can
braised
manage this.
it.
Yes, we're
Doesn't
all
tell
right.
you how. He just said, "Oh, here's
And then I
a
want to
finished braised
prepare-
brisket, by the way." And now let me, rather than tell you how I made it, I'm gonna spend
And the glaze that we're
40
going to use
seconds
for this
talking
is
about
a little
why I need a
unusual,
metal fork
but it is
instead
an
of a
apple
wooden
glaze.
fork to get it out of the pot.
For my apple glaze, get a burner going
Oh,
here.
we're gonna
Oh,
glaze
Oh,
cooked the meat.
apple
You see,
glaze on
cooked
brisket,
enough now, and it's delicious
vomit
enough, I think,
town.
to go
On
ahead and slice
boiled
it and serve it.
brisket.
But it's
Look
kind
it
of
up.
cooked and
That is
done. So
the
now I want
least
to do something
appetizing
creative.
looking thing
So
I've ever
I'm going
seen
to
on a
heat up
food show ever.
the following ingredients for you. Ready? I want one 10-ounce jar. Ready for this? Of apple jelly. Oh, boy.
Oh my God.
I love
Not
apple jelly.
an apple. This is
Oh
an
my
apple.
God.
1 10-ounce jar of apple jelly.
Apple
Right out of
jelly.
the jar into the pan. And to that, you're going to add 1/3 of a cup of dry white wine. If you're not getting all this recipe, don't worry about it. It's just in the cookbook.
No, I'm not getting your
cookbook.
cookbook.
And now I'm confusing
Frug.
you even further because
I do not want to make
cookbooks out. Be sure that you find this recipe in the American cookbook. And please don't write me and say, you dog, I looked for the recipe in your cookbook and it wasn't there. Well, we've been together a long time, so there are lots of cookbooks and lots of recipes, and we just have to get the right ones.
You dog.
Right. 1/3 of a cup of white wine, dry, no salt in it. Mustard.
There's many books to be purchased.
And Dijon is that wonderful mustard from
apparently
France.
He's got a whole library
also
of
made
books.
in this country. I'm using Grey Poupons. It's an American product, though it has a kind of a French background. And I want to add
Grey
a
Poupon
couple
is
of
American?
green onions
I
that
didn't
I've
know
chopped
that.
up.
Do you remember those commercials back in the day?
That's two. That's
Pardon me. Do you have any
I'm
Grey
going to add
Poupon?
a little bit of
Isn't it
pepper.
French?
Yeah, I
half
thought
a
it was
teaspoon
French
or
too.
so. It's a big piece of meat. There we are. And finally, are you ready for the clincher? Are you ready? A shot of curry. A little bit of curry. Oh, maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon. That should be about right. Is that about right for you? That's how you measure. That's exactly 3/4 of a teaspoon. Okay, maybe a little more.
Why not?
There we are. Now, cook that up till the jelly melts.
This little
and
hand
everything
move
begins
he
to
does.
blend. It'll not take long for you. Whoops,
is
I have to go
glaze.
back to my pork dish. Let's see what's happening. Pork and apples, huh? I think it's time to stir this. Oh, look it. Oh, it's done. Oh, it's done. And oh, it's
Yum.
It
I'm
is.
sorry. I keep apologizing to you that you can't smell these things. That's terrific. Let's dish it up right now while the jelly melts, huh?
I wish I could smell that.
Let's dish it up right now while
As
the
if you can
jelly
say no.
melts.
What kind of a deal is that? There we are. Apples and pork. Now, this becomes a whole meal, of course. Apples, pork, and 2 kinds of onions, along with a basic Chinese marinade.
You said it was just
Ginger,
yellow onions.
Soy,
Did add green.
and a little
Yeah,
bit
oh,
of
that's
dry
right.
sherry. And
No,
I've
but that was
added a
green
bit of sesame
peppers,
oil
though.
at the end, just for
Wasn't it
kicks.
green peppers?
And perhaps some black pepper.
I mean, this sort of looks
There
like
you
the
are.
cabbage
This should do it.
dish.
Oh, boy,
Yeah.
that's terrific. Get the burner shut off. It's just
It
wonderful.
looks exactly like
Put
the
that up.
cabbage dish. Put
Start
it
out
next
a
to it.
family with wonderful
Same thing.
dishes. Ah, there.
It's a little browner.
Wonderful dishes that have apple as a major
It's the same
ingredient.
dish.
Because
It's
we're
just in
talking
a
about
different.
American.
Yeah, it's in a different dish. One's in a
Okay, now
bowl
the
and one's in a
curry-
plate.
Mustard, apple jelly, glaze
Oh God.
is ready.
Everything is
And I'm gonna
tan.
pour- just pour
Everything
it
is
over the-
tan in this episode.
Pour it over my brisket
Just-
and put it in the oven
Including the
again.
brisket.
Oh my
for a
God!
while
So
to
just
bake
to
and
reiterate,
glaze. Oh, about
this is
half an hour or
melted
so.
apple jelly
There we
going
go.
on a brisket that
So
we
you
did.
get
I
a
have
nice
no
glaze on
idea
this.
how it was
Don't
made.
put all the glaze on it once.
We
You want
just
to baste
know
it 3 or 4
exactly
times
how it
during
was
the baking
worked
process.
out, but we have no idea how it was made.
Let me show you what you have. I'll get this one off the stove because I have one ready for you. But of course,
Boom,
Ouch.
the
I wonder
switcheroo.
what color it
where
is.
is it? There it is.
Love this.
It's always good to find something on the first time through, huh?
I gotta say, I love his cookware. Like he's got all these
Baked grease
cool,
biscuit with an
old
apple
school
glaze.
ceramic, like Le Creusetti looking
Oh, this
things.
is lovely stuff.
They're very fun.
You'll enjoy that because
those handles.
the apple gives it a kind of cleansing
I feel like
flavor.
he was trying to like
Apple
trick.
is
He's like,
very
you will
interesting
enjoy that. He was
in
like
that
trying to
it's
Jedi
sweet,
us to
but
liking
it's
it.
not heavy.
You will enjoy
That's
it. I
the neat thing about
promise.
an apple.
Right.
Wonderful apples. They're great for cooking. I just enjoy them. I eat
I mean,
them,
that
of
looks
course.
the best so
But
far
no,
now
not by
out of the
themselves, but I
oven.
love to cook with them.
Yeah.
When you finish this, I want you to add, when this comes out of the oven, I want you to add a bit of apple juice to the recipe
And
to make the gravy a bit richer.
how long did
So
it
I'm just gonna
take
pour
for
some
it
in the
to-
pan
in
now,
the
but I
oven?
want you to cook that
Nope.
down.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
How dare you
Reduce
ask?
that a bit.
Get the
and then
cookbook.
Slice your meat and pour that over the top.
Nope.
Oh, I have so many
We
other
don't
things I
ask
want to
those
show you that I
questions.
can't believe
Pour
it.
some apple juice to
I
make
have
sure
an
you
apple
get the
cobbler
apple
in the oven.
flavor.
Yeah, he just put. By the way, he just poured
Found it.
cold apple juice on top
And
of
this
this whole
one-
thing. He
This
didn't
is
like
an old
reduce it or
colonial
anything.
recipe. We
Just
won't
let
have
me
time
just
to
throw
do it
some
today,
apple
but I
juice
don't
on
think
the
that
top.
matters anyhow. You and I understand it.
On
I
the
put the apples
glaze.
on
Wait,
top
what's
of
this?
the batter. I fried them a little bit first, put them on top of the batter, and then
No
let the thing cook in the
information.
oven a little bit. The recipe will be in your hands. You just find the old cookbook, and it's so easy to do. I
What are
can't
you?
believe it.
What are you
This
doing?
is what we
Now
call
you're
the
just
cobbler
showing. Now you're just
during
flexing.
colonial times.
Now he's just
That's an apple
flexing.
cobbler,
He's
the
like, check it
cobbler.
out. I made this too.
And I also
Good luck
have,
trying to
let's
figure
see,
it
some other
out.
things here. Look at this one. Now,
Is it a
using this
cobbler
silly machine
or
for
is it a-
slicing, so
is
when
it
you slice
all
an
of the
apple thinly
apples?
like this, look what you can do
Oh,
with
a
an
tart?
apple tart.
You okay? I love that.
I baked
He-
the tart, cooked the
The
apples
only
first,
thing he
and then
cooked
arranged
was
them. I'm
like
gonna set
the
this down
brown
in a corner.
slop,
Oh, there it is.
and then like the
Baked
pretty
tart,
things. He's like,
and then I covered it
also
with marmalade, orange marmalade.
give
That's
this a
all.
go.
Melt
Figure it
marmalade and
out.
pour it over the top. That's all you have to do. Is that
Yeah, that's all you have
gorgeous?
to do. Then why
All
didn't
right,
you
we're
do
talking
it, Jeff?
$14
If
a
that's
slice
all
in a
you
good
have to
French
do,
restaurant, aren't we?
why didn't you
No,
do
it's
it?
an American product, and you and I should enjoy it.
The American
Finally,
product again.
Back with the
I
American
have a
product that was
steak
brought over by
that
the
I've
Europeans.
marinated. This recipe is not mine. I stole it from a really dear friend. I'm marinating this. I've already cooked
Now
the
there's flank
You
steak out of
recognize the
nowhere?
piece of meat. Marinated a bit, and I cooked it
And what's the recipe?
in a marinade of
Stole.
apple butter,
Don't get to know?
and a little bit of soy, and some onions, and some garlic, so that you have some very interesting flavors. You see, the point of our lesson today is not that apples make great pie. I know they make great pie, but I, to be perfectly frank, am tired of apple pie. I don't think I can deal with another one. I think what I want to do is to think about the apple as an original American fruit. That is to say, it's been with us from the beginning so that we can cook unusual things. So today I have cooked for you.
You did that.
Apples with pork, an elegant dish that's easy to do. Apples and cabbage, which goes back to colonial times. A beautiful apple tart, so simple. Apples baked in a cobbler.
Didn't show us how it's
made. Apple butter, not butter.
This one, I forgot this
That's
one made an appearance.
On a lovely steak, and finally a brisket.
Another.
And I put a lovely glaze on using a tiny bit of curry and a great deal of apple jelly.
Yeah,
There,
and then
now next time you serve
apple
apples to your
juice at the end.
children, for heaven's sakes, be sure and offer a prayer of thanksgiving for Johnny Appleseed, who did exist and really did wear a pan on his head and went all over the country for your sake and mine, planting apples. Until I see you again then, I'm glad we could be together. Cook American, for heaven's sakes. We've wonderful things to celebrate. The apple.
Cook American, for God's sake. Enough of this immigrant bullshit.
I wish you well. Feed your kids well. Come back to my kitchen soon. This is the Frugal Gourmet. I bid you peace. Bye.
Thanks, Jeff. That was a lovely episode of
It was lovely.
apples. Learned a lot about apples. Not a lot about how to cook the apples.
What's he doing now? Now it's like, all right, we're still just do some cleanup. He's got to do it all.
Yeah.
He's got to do it all. It's public TV.
Like just pretend to be in all the credits.
Let's see if he. What is he doing now? Now he's closing his mustard. Got it. Like he doesn't have assistants. Give this man some assistance. Now he's just moving things. He's just moving things.
He never took a bite out of anything. We don't know.
That's right. He didn't eat anything. And because he knows something, everything he made was trash. I don't think there's anything there that I would really want to make.
Not one thing I'd want to cook.
Not one thing?
No.
Well, as the Frugal Gourmet said, if you liked any of those and you want to make them, go get the book. Very fun episode. And until next time, we bid you peace.
Peace.
Thanks for watching the Vintage Roast. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and tell us what your favorite dish was in the comments down below.